everyone. My name is Michael Iseri. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us today for Visibility Through Publications, What to Write About. This is part two of a three-part or so webinar series in which we're trying to engage you to be encouraged to write, to be encouraged to do more interesting things, and for you to just have fun. And my main primary goal for all this is for all of you to have fun and to try to be entertaining and informative. So without further ado, let's begin. All right, first off, I like to just begin with an exercise, just to get your brains going and everything. And since this is primarily California Lotus Association event, many of you are from California. So without really raising your hands, how many of you have the pleasure of driving a car in the beautiful state of California? Hopefully most of you, but I do know we have some out of states individuals, so thank you for joining. So there's a small pop quiz for this. According to the California DMV, what is the recommended hand position on the steering wheel? Again, this is just a fun exercise in terms of getting your brain jog up and everything. Is it A, B, C, D, or E? And these are the different hand positions on the steering wheel. I'll give it 5 seconds and then we'll switch over. Oh, sorry. So the answer for that is actually, interesting enough, they amended it before, or previously it was 10-2, that's what people thought about. But now it's actually 9-3 and 8-4 according to the DMV. The reason why I show this is one, to just show that things change over time. And it's always great to continue learning and to continue to just understand and be knowledgeable. And also it's just interesting to see how what we thought things were are not actually what they appear to be. That said, I'll do quick introductions about myself and then dive right into the topic of what to write about. My name is Michael Iseri, and I've been practicing for about 8 years, or more than 8 years. I'm a unique attorney because I do both litigation and motion drafting and legal research, but I also do software engineering and cybersecurity and data privacy. It's something in which I just love to do and just expand upon. My previous communities that I've been involved with will be the California Lawyers Association with the Young Lawyers Association or the New Lawyers Association. We had a name change. I was part of the IP litigation, the business law section, and currently I'm on the DEI committee. In addition to that, I was appointed by the California Supreme Court to be one of the 10 attorneys who created the bar exam. And that was a huge honor to assist with the bar exam from 2018 to 2022. Currently, I've been appointed by the State Bar of California to be on the California's new license board to create the new data privacy license for California attorneys. And then in addition to all that, I'm part of the EBA. I am currently on the Justice for All community, that's formerly known as Access to Justice. And I was a Young Lawyers Leaders. There's a program for that. And also I'll give a huge shout out to the DIOr program for the EBA, which is a judicial internship opportunity program in which we pair law students with judges. And that's, with all these communities, that's because I was heavily involved with publications, getting out there, building upon a foundation of involvement. But in addition to show and demonstrate my knowledge and my willingness to work in terms of making a difference, making a greater good. And just to anticipate the elephant in the room, my accent actually comes from a unique background of having a speech impediment, and I couldn't speak until the 3rd grade. In addition to that, I was a survivor of a high school shooting in which I was shot in the back of the head. Of course, I'm alive today. And it's something in which, from life experiences, that's something that defines a character, but also you can talk about it. You can show other people what you have overcome and what you can contribute to the legal community. In the past, I have these publications and interviews as well. And after a presentation, I'll leave you in on future publications in other interviews and presentations I'm developing to show that ongoing continual process of mastering and learning how to just write. So the benefits of publications, let's just address that. Publications can lead to just enhanced visibility overall. It allows you to not only feature your publications on different websites such as LinkedIn, Facebook, if you want to use that, other platforms and stuff. And it's always fun to show with my friends and family on Facebook about my publications, but it just helps add to your breadth of knowledge and what you have demonstrated. It's also a great way to just get out there and develop your own professional branding, your own self, who are, what you are capable of doing. And not only that, it allows for career and community opportunities. It allows you to put the different types of writings on your resumes, on your application to different communities to do other things. And some of it will lead to like webinars or speaking engagements. Others you can just, have networking opportunities. People may reach out to you, may want to know more about particular subject matter that you demonstrated. And it also has the ability to lead to career advancements and new job perspectives. It's just, for me, fun to do because I love to demonstrate and try to teach people different means and different ways of doing things. Now, the next few slides will be about different styles of legal writing. The reason why I'm pointing a little pinpoint here is because it's slightly out of order in terms of, I'm actually talking about a category of legal writing that I like to put more near the back, but I'm going to address that up front because it just makes sense common sense wise, but you'll see. So the first legal writing style is the one main point narrative piece. It's a long form narrative or storytelling approach. What I mean by one main point, I mean by just really having an introduction and conclusion, but really talk about one main gist, one main just topic. It's a little boring. That's why I don't want to emphasize as the first point, but in chronological order, it makes sense to talk about 1 point and 2 points and 3 points. But the one main point is ideal for personal reflection or testimonial pieces. It's also great for passionate arguments if you really are passionate about one particular topic. And you can do in-depth analysis of a single issue. The examples I highlighted is more like a reflection piece, and I put down like a reflection piece of Andrew Iseri of myself. Or you can do like the legalese version of is a hot dog a sandwich, and do that type of argument. Those reasons why I try to point away or to try to discourage doing a one main point article, unless if it's a personal reflection or testimonial, because it can get very boring if you're not actively engaging throughout the writing style. The second part is two main points section of writing. That's more like a comparative analysis. You're exploring contrasting viewpoints or ideas. Or It's ideal for like pros and cons of a legal strategy, examining two different sides or arguments of a legal debate, or comparing different legal frameworks from different areas of laws. An example I highlight would be the legalese version of the arguments pie or cake, cookies or brownies, which are better. That's just something which is fun and engaging. And when you think there's a lull in writing, you can dovetail to another aspect, to another different topic. It's something which it overcomes writing block if you do that type of writing style. Or you can be engaging with the audience. Remember, for me, I always perceive legal writing, or at least publication, as something fun and intuitive and just like, can I contribute something more? But you can always summarize, which I will get to later on. Now, the next writing style is like the three main points. This is more like informative pieces with a clear structure. In my opinion, like three different types. You can do like 4, 5, or 6 main points, but at that numerosity, it just gets a little convoluted, gets a little complicated. It's just all over the place. Usually I try to hone in into 3 main points and leave it at that, but you can deviate if you want, but it may be just too overly cumbersome. It's ideal for this type of style for explaining complex legal concepts, for finding practical guidance, and how I put down it's more like a Trinity teaching approach, and meaning not religious, but more about just 3 different ways of contrasting or interconnecting relationships of ideas and concepts. The examples I provide is which is better, wisdom, power, or courage. And in a previous article I wrote, I actually outlined one is in AI, and I classify that as a human interface, intelligent automation, and machine learning elements. You can also look at the 3 main points as elements, not necessarily factors. It's just different ways of comparing, contrasting, and being engageful to the audience. A different legal writing will be narrative or historical structural approaches. It's more like a chronological progression of a legal issue or case. So it's from point A to point B to point C, which is the conclusion. It's ideal for like a compelling, you want to have a compelling hook to engage the reader at point A and point B if you can. Oftentimes, this approach can be impactful if it's concise and clear in terms of how you have an issue, the problem solving aspect of that issue, and then the resolution. It can be boring though. And the reason why it can be boring is I'll highlight in the examples. One of the last example particularly is like baking a cake. Part A could be gathering the ingredients, set up, what caused something else, anything like that. Part B is the baking process, which is crucial and important to be transformative of the product. But no one likes to sit around and watch something being baked or cooked. It's like watching paint dry. It can be very boring at that point, but it's very important though for part of the transformation process. Everybody wants to get to part C, which is eating the cake. That's main reason why narrative or historical structures, they can be done, but you have to be impactful and engaging through the part A and more importantly part B process, the middle part, before you get to the conclusion. Oftentimes, I've seen people just wanting to know the conclusion or what's going on right now. So that's one legal writing style. Now, the next few is more like finding a niche. It's not necessarily legal writing styles, but more about different types of subcategories. One of them can be passion projects. What I mean by that is ideal to write about areas of law that generally interest you. You can dive more into just different aspects of different legal areas or niche areas if you're very passionate about it. It can share unique insights and perspectives of those areas. Some of the examples I provide will be like emerging legal fraud, crime, or other cases or matters like that. Or you can do teaching series like AI training modules, which I've done in the past, because I'm passionate about those. You can also do legal ethics, addressing the different stuff. You can do access to justice or public interest issues. You can do anything else. Those are just some of the examples I highlight, but you can, think about it and be inspired by that. Another just different subcategory will be practice guides. It's more about offering practical advice and how-to information. You have to understand your audience. If you're writing primarily to attorneys, you might want to write more a practice guide to attorneys per se. But if you want to broaden your scope of the article to a wider audience, you can try to address it to the layperson or just someone who's in college or someone who is, say, middle school even. It depends on what you want to do. And the focus of those is just to provide a specific practice areas or legal issues. Some examples I highlight will be a guide to e-discovery for attorneys, a guide for small claims to the general public, housing and tenant rights to the general public. Or you can do like tips for drafting effective contracts. You can also do like navigating legal technology in a specific field, like insurance defense, which if I recall, will be a huge thing in the next year or two, because insurance companies want to see adoption of legal AIs for insurance defense firms and other places. So another one or niche subcategory is engaging legal pieces. It's really just to capture the essence of legal events, a conference, a historical moment. It provides the spectators, ideally you, the writers, point of view or analysis. For example, you can do an analysis of a landmark Supreme Court decision, or you can report on a recent legal conference that you attended and thought it might be beneficial to write about it. That's something in which it adds another perspective of experience or just something engaging from you. In the last niche, remember this is not all inclusive, but the last major niche or subcategory I highlight will be tributes and reflection pieces. Oftentimes, they honor an influential figure in the legal community or other communities. You can show your personal anecdotes and insights of significant events. It's more like again, a reflection or a tribute. The example I provide is like doing an in-memory article about one of my law school professors, in my opinion, one of the best law school professors, Dan Albrok, who was an IP law professor, and he passed away this year. That's something in which you can write an article of how influential a professor is to you or other stuff like that. It's just different ways of thinking. The reason why I'm highlighting these different legal writing styles is because we'll understand, once you know the form and function, what you want, the ideas will then come from you. Will you be able to develop them more deeply? What to avoid? And this is just in my opinion to avoid. Remember how I told you about what to avoid for 1-point articles? They can get into information dumping or information dumps. They can overwhelm readers with dense technical information or jargon. The focus may be unclear if you do too much. So you want to try to be more focused, clear, concise, If one, I've seen this articles that is just too condensed or not really vetted would be the proper terminology. The second things to avoid, in my opinion, will be quickly outdated content. In my opinion, still clear of topics with short shelf life, such as like a list of software and hardware that law firms should have or public interest should adopt. I joke around, I do cybersecurity webinars and conferences before, and people always come to me, Michael, what is the best technology to use for, password management or software? I will have, I oftentimes don't like to tell people that because I rather teach them how to fish than rather than giving them the fish. That's the um how I will phrase that. But if I had to, I would have said like 2 years ago, LastPass. But if you know anything about technology, LastPass had a huge cyber security incident in which no one uses them anymore or shouldn't. I'm sure they fixed the flaw, but it's the reputation would have been tarnished and other programs and other stuff have took their place. That's why I try to avoid making like software and hardware recommendations because again, remember how I began this entire webinar about what positions on the steering wheel should you put your hands on to drive. It changes over time usually. So try to focus on evergreen content or other stuff for providing strategies for staying up to date. It's just like I say, it's hard, and I just encourage having recommendation lists type because they always continuously need to be updated. If you want to update it like once every 6 months or so, that's fine. That's cool. However, keep that in mind that some publications may not allow you to do that. And then the other thing I just encourage will be like perceived controversial topics or brochure style topics. What I mean by that is be mindful of politically charged topics that publications might try to avoid or try to not engage in. Unless if that's the publication's main mission statement, you may want to steer away from politically charged topics. Because sometimes they may not want to endorse a particular idea or ideology or whatever. Also, refrain from writing about brochure style articles like how I put down like just basic overview articles that I can easily look up on 1 or 2 websites and get the gist of, like pyramid schemes or NFTs or other stuff like that. What I mean is, you writing an article, there should be some substance to it, some analysis, some transformative process to it. If I can just look at a brochure or essentially an ad for a product, I'll just go to the website or something else. It's not really contributory or engaging for publication, and that may be one reason why people may avoid wanting to publish something. So target publications and audiences. This is just understanding who you can publish under. This is not by all means an inclusive list, but these are the top ones I identify that you can seek out publications or work with subgroups in these groups, communities to see if we can get something published. I outlined California Lawyers Association, CLA, American Bar Association. They have different communities for that. And my favorite one is DIOr. They're looking for public interesting articles right now. You can also do local bar associations and affinity bar associations. You can also just look into, say, publishing stuff for college where you went to college or your law school. And there's just so many things you can explore and seek out. So this is just another way to reiterate. You want to match the content with the audience. Really, once you, from the styles we outline, you want to make sure that the writing style is specific or appropriate for the publication and its readership that you want to reach out to. Primarily, the main word that you want to look for is it engaging? That's something in which I can't, there's no mathematical formulas or anything like that. It's something in which you have to just understand like the tone, the times, and the more like the entire sphere of influence in what the popular trends are. In other words, you have to be knowledgeable by what people may want to explore. Again, that's really comes down to the tone engaging. So you can consider the publication's focus, tone, and audience demographics in trying to find the right place for your article. So here's some real brief tips of what I advise to be careful or key considerations in publications. I think part 3 of our webinar series will go dive more deep into this. But you want to review the contract terms once you reach out to a publication and they give you, oh, here's something to sign so we can publish it. You should read it and you should understand post-publication rights and republication rights. Post-publication rights means oftentimes they want to be the first one to publish something new. However, some other publications that I've done in the past as well, they seek republication rights. What I mean by that is you can, I have articles that I published for CLA or for the ABA, and then I republish them for a local affinity bar association, such as the San Francisco Bar Association, and they just love that type of content. And usually you can talk with the editors and publishers about it. Then you may have to include just a small little clause at the beginning saying this was originally published in so and so publication. Which is what the second point is acknowledgement of original publications. So also try to include publication timelines and deadlines clauses in the contract. What I mean by that is try to ensure that when you have something published, you include dates on when you can get it published or what is expected to be published, and when, if nothing happens, can you get it published elsewhere. There's no like definitive time, but I usually tell people probably 2 or 3 months. If nothing happens, see if you can just get it published elsewhere. Sometimes they publish in quarterly or biannual standards. Just it's up to you in terms of figuring out when they will be published. One of my main points is yes, you can edit the contract. I have crossed out terminology and just wrote in the contract saying, hey, I'm gonna have this, it's already published, or I'm gonna have it published in another thing, could jointly type of stuff, publications. You can just do that. However, you want to use good judgment in terms of if you're doing that type of contract type of editing, and by contract, it's usually just a 1 page, easy to understand, giving them the right to republish without getting any money in returns, stuff like that. Just use good judgment because this dovetails into the last bit. Be professional. You are building relationships that will be long lasting with editors and publishers and other attorneys working for these companies. And you want to ensure that you be respectful, be professional in terms of publishing your materials, because you'll be working with them for this publication and ideally for future publications. The life of an article. This is just a very brief timeline, how I usually outline. You can have a first publication and promotion. So once you publish something, your article goes live. Ensure, by the way, that the publication or publisher actually tells you when it goes live. I actually had an incident in which I had one of my articles this year published without my knowledge. And it was more than a month or a month and a half before I realized it was published at all. That's something in which you want to, if you haven't heard back from the publisher, you want to just send an email and say, hey, what happened to the publication of my article? I just was curious. Can you provide a quick update? Once it becomes live, feel free to promote it. Feel free to share it on the social media and other channels, friends, your boss, your workplace, anything like that. Let's see. Afterwards, the next step is you can either publish your materials or you can update your materials. So explore republication opportunities with other publications. Again, I mentioned it earlier. Just look for the places you can dabble into. Sometimes local and affinity bar associations will love that. Other times they want first publication rights to materials. Can't help them with that. But if it fits the theme of an article or a magazine or other publication at the time, they will more than, from my experience, they'll be gladly to accept that. And remember, if you're going to do republications, you want to read the original contract you signed because you may have to include just one or two sentences at the beginning saying it was originally published in so-and-so article. This is a republication of this. Another instance where you can republish or update is if the article was removed from online, then you can by all means seek republication and updates by that. Sometimes removing it or having it removed from online is just innocent in terms of like a data migration for a website or they creating a new website and they have to purge old content for the new system. I don't see it as a loss, except for it kind of is sad that your original links to your publication is gone. However, I see that as an opportunity to update it or republish it with other people. Lastly, part of the life of an article, you can convert that material to a webinar and vice versa. So one of the unique things I did was I wrote in 2019 comments on a particular issue for the state of California. I will go into the issue because it's not controversial, but some people have strong opinions about it. So I wrote comments about it that span around 6 pages, highly professional. I posted on my LinkedIn profile in a PDF format. It's like, hey, here's my comments I provided to the state of California's community. In 2021, I took half of that article and repurposed that for an article on implicit bias or biases in AI. Was something which I was able to publish for California Lawyers Association and for EDA, I believe. After that, in 2024, this year, in June, I was able to convert that article and I was reached out by other people for the Orange County Bar Association to help them provide a speaking event on implicit biases in AIs. So I was able to use my prior work to create content for a PowerPoint and do a 1-hour presentation on implicit bias in AI. That's all stemming from 2019 of comments for a particular community to 2021 publication on biases in general with AI and technology to a live conference for 1 hour straight on implicit bias and AI. So keep that in mind. You can always repurpose materials that you have. And because I had that article already published in 2021, I was able to convince them to provide me a full hour for the Orange County Bar Association for the AI symposium at UCI Law. I'm presenting remarks on implicit bias in AI. So it was an amazing experience. Now, finding inspiration. This is interesting because I did more of the form and structure from the beginning. And now this is just like being inspired to write now. So what sources of inspiration are out there? I highlight sometimes current events, news articles, podcasts, conversations you have. You can do personal experience, observations, areas of expertise in professional development, like more training and all that. You can also do like I attended a conference and here's my notes about it if I'm allowed to do a highlight reel of the conference in an upcoming paper, especially if that conference is related to the committee that is that's in charge of the conference and publications. So there's just different ways of thinking about it. For me, I'm passionate about technology, self-engineering. So I love technology and just cybersecurity related matters and stories. So there's a lot of content that can be produced, that can be noted. When I listen to podcasts, if I like a current event or something really interesting, I'll just jot it down for later reference. I keep like a folder on my desktop and on my phone in terms of interesting ideas or thoughts I have while driving or doing other things, and that I can reference back to it. It may not be enough for a single, you know, publication, but multitudes of that will be enough to discuss sections of something and it will inspire me to write more about a particular area. And again, it's you want to just identify interesting angles and unique perspectives. Remember how I say avoid brochure or ads type of stuff? You want to give some, you want to transform the content. You want to be engaging. If I want to look at just a brief outline, I can do that easily online or now with generative AI stuff. You need to put some effort into creating original or unique perspectives. So, like say, I guess the takeaway terminology is engaging if we need to have one single term to take away from this webinar, but also being transformative. And then the last bullet point I have is address from different perspectives. Don't necessarily always think about a legal or attorney perspective. Think about it as through the eyes of the public, of the victim, of a non-attorney, of the legal staff or other stuff, of the government, of other like the a layperson or anything like that. You can also do your spouse or partner, just like being mindful of different people's perspectives of legal areas. That might be a contributing factor to it all. In fact, I reach out to my friend who helps or who teaches middle schools, schoolers, and elementary schoolers, and I asked them what type of things they want to learn from an attorney, and got a series of questions that maybe not enough to write an article, but I'm going to write a short piece for the students just because it's fun. That's something you mentioned. It's a great process, I guess. So this is like future publications I have. One of them is a testimony piece of myself, but also through the guise or review analysis of Extraordinary Attorney Woo, which is one of South Korea's main Korean dramas on an attorney with a disability. For the time being, it was when I last checked, IMDb's like top 230 best TV series. I forgot what number it is right now. Excellent series. And so I not only highlighted the different moments of the series that highlight big law and attorneys with disabilities and discrimination, but I also tie it with my own reflection piece of an attorney with a disability. I also have like summarizing my legal AI training sessions or modules that I did or presented in the past on different webinars and conferences. I'm actually writing them out in terms of publications. Other stuff I am writing is about extremely high-end AI modules or teaching methodologies and different ways of implementing that. I wrote in the past on legal accessibility, not in technology, but in terms of making law more simple for the layperson to be able to be understandable, to be able to be articulated, and for clear, easier understanding of law. I wrote an article on that, and that was part of the purge of another group when they did a website migration. So I am taking that as an opportunity to actually revise it and to be published. I'm also looking into just in personal. I had a personal testimonial story through the DIOr program for ABA. Again, there was a website purge, and so I'm able to just update my personal life story now and to add some more flair and understanding of how I grew as an attorney and see if I can help guide other attorneys or other pre-law students on the different pathways that are available to you. I also want to write an article on how to detect generative AI text for law students or from law students or opposing counsel. There's ways of me knowing that there's different ways of seeing those tells. Know that there's some program ways of figuring things out, and I have utilized them enough to understand when someone is using. I know how to detect AI usage. It would be interesting if I can convey that to an article and see how you can identify that. I also want to write an article on cryptos and NFTs, why I perceive them as scams. I won't go into much more about that, but that's just another thing I love to contribute about raising awareness on different types of issues and such. I also love to do high-end tea collecting, so I might as well do a guide or something like that. I know other attorneys love beer or wine, and you can just write about it. And some of my favorite type of um, meetings or meetups is just an attorney who just talks about international law, uh, relatable to trade for wine, and then has wine at the end for a demonstration purpose. That's a fun event. And then also, I want to do an article on programming, software engineering, and how you can create different legal voice apps and other stuff. And the process of publishing it on the Google Play Store, the Apple Store, in terms of just having programs out there. And that said, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna open up to questions. Hopefully I can see them. Also, if you scan the QR code, you actually will land on my Google Play Store with the free legal apps I have. And that's more or less of just different things you can check. Some stuff I didn't know, but I'll tell you right now. Um, I was formerly, oh, I am now part of Shanley Law Firm, which is an amazing law firm that does union representations. It's a great law firm, love it. And then I also love software engineering and programming so much that I was reached out by Google and been classified as a unicorn. But that's the type of commitment and unique perspective and passion that really helps drive people in terms of being able to understand that you have experience, you have stories, you have things you can share with other people. You can either do that with talking or through writing. And that's what something in which I'm hoping that this presentation or webinar was able to convey. Like I said, if you're looking for stuff in terms of here's what to write, here's what to do, that's unfortunately I can't do that because I don't know who you are. But besides that, are there any questions out there? Anything else? I see in the chat people giving feedback about thanking me. So thank you. Like I say, we have about another 12 minutes. So I don't want to wrap it up, but this is a non-MCLE. So if there are no questions, we could wrap it up. I'm not sure if the host is gonna jump in. But yeah, I'm not seeing any more questions.
Hi, Michael, this is Mariana.
Yes.
I have a question for you as you select the publications, because I know you published a lot of your articles in other for lawyers, but do you find it useful to share outside? Like, you know, I'm an active member of the Chamber of Commerce, or like going to business in like business industry magazines, or like, do you do that? Do you yourself do that to promote your practice?
So you can promote yourself for sure. If one, it's like, how can I say? It's like an alt portfolio to your publications. Alt portfolio or film portfolio is for the filming industry and other industries. If you do the QR code, I have my programs portfolio. Only know that's how I was reached out by other tech companies based on my unique gifts of software programming. But the key term in publication is publishing, putting yourself out there. If you have nothing out there, then how can people connect with you or reach out to you for additional feedback or additional networking or guidance? I imagine that you have similar experience of, you know, it's not, ideally, it's not going to be out there to a non-audience that will not be impactful. You wrote something. You can also put it on your own personal website or on your LinkedIn profile. I also have it on my resume in terms of here's the name of the publication. And I actually, on my digital resume, I have it hyperlinked to the article itself. So if my employer wants to, oh, not prospective employer wants to see more, they can do that. That's something in which you can do as well. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Definitely. And I see this additional question. So a question from Rachel. What are some of the most restrictive conditions you found on publication of your work? That will probably be first publication rights. In terms of if you don't outline it particularly or have clear established communications on how once you submit and sign, when and how they can use your article, and if they just don't do anything, that's probably the most restrictive I found in terms of the conditions. Usually once you get to the signing stage or the contract-ish part, it's more of you just agree to have them publish and you're not seeking any monetary stuff, and you're also saying none of the stuff you wrote is stolen, etc., just common sense stuff. Hopefully that helps address that. That's like say timelines when it's going to be published, because I get antsy about, well, I finished something, I want to see it out in the wild. When is it going to be? Let's see. Amir, sorry if I mispronounced the name, asks, could you recommend a few resources for further reading? Unfortunately, not much. I don't have resources off my head. For me, it's more about just doing it. I mean, it's just writing in particular. If you want, if you need to do better grammar, I recommend grammar books and other stuff. If you want tone and reflection pieces, that. If you want to just learn, I mean, one of the best things in my opinion, is reading other articles, seeing what works and what doesn't work. You have a good, hopefully you have a good gauge on how things work and what you appreciate or not appreciate. And, you know, you should not be forcing yourself to write something that you don't want to. Hopefully that answers that question. Um, so Magdalene, yeah, sorry, I'm butchering your name. For people looking to publish for the first time, how do you get publication interest in publishing your work? Excellent questions. And then let's follow up. Do you reach out with an already complete article? Do you look for calls for new articles? Thanks. You just have to, for like the local bar associations and affinity groups, if you do a meetup, meetings and other stuff, you can try to talk your stuff around or network. You can ask, oh, I have an idea. I was curious if I can publish it or you have something for publications. If they say yes, talk to so and so person, follow up on that. For the DIOr program, we are looking for calls in terms of unique perspectives for publications. And that's something which I can't guarantee anything, but that's something which if you reach out, I'm sure they will love to take that. By the way, JIOp is the Judicial Internship Opportunity Program in which we love just to get other law students' perspectives of external for judges, but also just for new attorneys, new perspectives. Um, and if you are very well tuned in a specific area of law, say employment law, look for employment meetups or committees for ABA, CLA, other local affinity groups, and see if there's publication opportunities. Coming back, do you have an article written out before reaching out to them, or vice versa in terms of you have nothing but you are interested? Talk with them. If you already have something written out beforehand, and then you just need some edits to get them to that point, excellent. And that's what an editor should help you with for those publications. It's not going to be just, oftentimes it's not you submitting something and it not being edited at all. They will usually have some revisions or some recommendations, and you should probably accept the revisions and recommendations. Again, it comes back to being professional and also trying to cater to the audience needs. Let's see here. Hopefully that answers that question. Jack Vendor wrote, which business publications and legal journals will you recommend as writing for, in addition to the Bar Association related publications? There's so many out there. Just look into, you know, California Law Association, different state bars as well. Look for American Bar Association. Look for the communities in other places. Look for anything you were involved in law school. See if they wanted to publish an article. Maybe not in the law journal, but maybe for a piece or something for another thing. Look for local bar groups like the Los Angeles Bar Association or other stuff. You can get it published. And I didn't really address this. If it's good for that particular legal area that you're practicing, you can self-publish, aka just putting on a website. Oh, you can also just check with your law firm, with your boss to see if that might be something you want to put on the law firm's website. That would be amazing, and there may be more red tape in that, but that's another place to look out for. You can also just do, I mean, college stuff, high school, just any place that may want an article or opinion. Remember, you're not going to try to shoehorn your stuff into another place. Oftentimes, they're doing a collection of articles for a particular topic or particular category that they want to serve for the audience. So you want to try to write to that audience. And again, be engaging and transformative, ideally. Let's see here. Mallory wrote, do you have people check the overall tone of your draft? Sometimes people do. Sometimes editors will do that. Other times they won't. I had an article that I thought might be revised. I provided them, and then they just publish it as is. I had another article image. I provided them, and then didn't really get back to me, and then did some revisions and then didn't seek approval of it. However, the revisions were not atrocious. I agree with most of them, and that's fine. Other times I had editors come back to me and asking me, can you do this and this? So I try to work with them. Sometimes you may have to cut down your article because it's too long. Sometimes they recommend, can you just cut out this part because although interesting, it may not be, fascinating. And that might come to like my is there an analogy? Yeah, analogy to baking a cake. Sometimes people want to see you gather the ingredients. Sometimes they want to want to eat the cake. Most often, people don't want to sit there doing nothing to watch the cake being baked. I know that's like a long time ago, or 30 minutes ago, but that's like an apt metaphor in terms of, yeah, sometimes they want to cut out the boring part and just get to what people want. Like, what's the issue and what's the conclusion? Sometimes what is the important part may have to be sacrificed. Ultimately, you do have a vision, but sometimes to get published, you have to let the editors help you with refining your vision or refining your piece for the ultimate goal. Let's see here. I'm just reading a long comment, so hold on. So one person's telling me about client confidentiality. This is from Elisa. More or less about your storytelling. Use your best judgment. If you get into confidentiality or difficult legal problems like that, you may have to skip or refrain or edit or sense. I hate the term censor, but you may want to reduce the impact that may be confidential or may be off-putting to other people. But and also, I will give you a quick anecdote. Don't talk bad things about people. That's just oftentimes not gonna get you anywhere. Um, it does say professional thing, but also putting in writing may not be the wisest thing as well. Let's see. I'm just reading that. I think that addressed that question. And then I think the last question will be, since we're getting up to the hour, will be what type of word count do you usually have for your articles? And that comes from Jack Vindo. Sorry again if I mispronounce your name. Usually some people I like to aim for 1,000 to 1,500 words. The more words you have, the easier to edit. But sometimes some publications want 2,000 or 3,000 words. If I recall correctly, 500 words is roughly a page if it's double space, if I recall. Maybe a little bit more than a page. So it depends on, again, the intent of the article. And I didn't really address this, but publication, it can be both in the book publication, which is much harder to get, or online publication. In my opinion, gaining anything is amazing. Some people love the book because, well, that's more prestigious. However, for me, I like just to see the content. I want to just be able to enjoy your writing. So I prefer online more, especially since if you do your own publishing, you can take the link and put on your resume or your website or your LinkedIn profile. You can share it with other people if it's not behind a paywall. You know, oh, not mentioning that, keep in mind that if content you produce is behind a paywall, then you may don't want to republish that for free to immediately after it's officially quote unquote published, because what's the point of that? We may have to work with the editor or publisher to see when can we publish. And that's something in which it's easily just talk with the person. It's like, oh, by the way, can I republish this in another journal or another community? And if so, when? Like I say, just being mindful for the type of intent, purpose of publication for that particular piece.